So we're back with another market open live stream, and today's been pre-market. We've just kicked off pre-market, and as you can see from where we were yesterday and from where my trade was positioned, we managed to have quite a substantial decline. I woke up this morning right before I went to the gym. I actually took off my position, so I think I was up about 700 points. I'll show you the trade in a moment, but I'll show you the trade on Trade Zeller in a moment. But we managed to capitalize on, I believe, about a 6R trade, and I closed it out around this area here. And the reason I closed it out is just simply because I didn't want to get too attached to a single trade. But as we usually do on a daily basis, what we usually do, we conduct our market open, pre-market open, pre-market open analysis, so we know exactly how we're going to approach the session. And I may or may not get into another trade today, so we'll look at that. But if we just quickly hop onto TradeZeller, you'll see that I had a poor week last week, but I made that all back in this one trade, so it was up about 5R on this trade, which was perfect. As I said, around nearly 600 points. It was nearly a 6R return, which was really nice. Risk 100 pips to make nearly 600. Really and truly, what I should have done is I should have held until the session and probably closed out in pre-market, but it doesn't matter. As long as we closed in a profit, it was perfectly fine. As I said, I still think this decline is going to take place even further today, but I could be wrong. And the main reason I'm going to say that is because we're watching this level right here. We're keeping our eye out for this external liquidity level. And so if this bounce today decides to continue going higher in an aggressive fashion, we could actually see price begin a massive ascent up. And so I didn't want to commit to one particular direction, especially when we have majority of the decline take place in the pre-market in the previous sessions. So we had a lot of the decline happen in Asian session, and that's why when I woke up I decided to close the position out. And so going into the markets today, we're still going to have somewhat of a bearish bias, but when I say that, what I mean is I'm still going to trade based on our market analysis game plan, our playbook, and we're going to conduct that in a few moments. But I assume that we are going to attempt to try and target liquidity. And so if this level does hold as a fair value gap, which is this area in between here, the area between here and I believe here as well. And so as you can see, we're getting a bounce at the low. So if this area does hold, if we do start to see a resumption of the uptrend in an attempt to target liquidity up here, and this would become our new external liquidity if this level holds. And if this previous opening gap sees a resumption of the trend, yeah, we can make a resumption higher. We can continue going higher. So it's going to be interesting to watch. But as I said, it was a really great trade. The position was fairly easy and straightforward. It did take a few days, but the position did play out just as I expected it to, and I didn't want to get greedy. So there is still opportunity to try and short the market down if it does take place, if it provides the opportunity. But just given the fact that we're in an uptrend, it doesn't make sense to try and short the market from highs. You should really just take what the market gives you, and that's what I'm looking to do. And so this is how we're looking to trade going forward. We're not going to try and trade with a pre-established bias of what's going to happen. You want to always trade our system. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to start our pre-market analysis, and it's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible that we're already up 6% for the day, so that's nice. Let's see if we can get this going. So pre-market analysis, we have our pre-market game plan, our template for approaching the markets, and what we want to do is just pretty much answer these questions. Have you got external liquidity? Have you got a predefined daily bias? Where is our external liquidity and has it been taken? If it has been taken, then we have a potential for reversal, and then obviously so on and so forth. So let's get this started really quickly. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna clear the chart. Alright, so we're about to conduct our pre-market analysis, and what that looks like is just answering these questions. So are we in a bullish uptrend? And if you can see, we are making higher highs and higher lows. So we are in a bullish uptrend. So that can remain the same. We've got external target. The external target is the highs of the market, so we can get rid of what it says the lows, which is there. Moving forward, has external liquidity been taken? And so if we look to address external liquidity as this level here, external liquidity certainly has been taken. However, we also have external liquidity up here, and that is all going to be determined by whether we target this area is going to be determined by whether or not we have a sufficient bounce into the session. And so if we do have a bounce into the session to hold this opening gap, then we are most likely going to head higher to target our external liquidity up here. And so the reason why this area is important is because if we don't close below this external liquidity, then this trade idea and the idea that liquidity got taken and then we reverse back into it, this trade idea will be denied. So we're going to need to watch what price does as it approaches this level right here, because if we can get back above into this gap, then we are most likely going to continue going higher, and we're going to add moving averages just to see. So what I'm talking about is if we get an aggressive move in, we should be able to rally and hold this to the highs, and it will be a massive rally up. However, if this fails and if price gets to this level and rejects, then we can expect price to continue going down. And so that's why this is a very important level. But nevertheless, we have external liquidity. Has it been taken? I'm going to say it has for the time being. But because we are in a bullish trend, our bias is still going to remain bullish. So that does not matter. This does not matter for now. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to look for short trades. So this is off the table. We're not going to look for short positions today. I've already capitalized on my short position from the high, which was a lovely trade. And I think I made a video on that as well. I think I made a video on that a couple of days ago. So we're not going to look for short trades today. But what we are going to do, we're going to continue our pre-market analysis so we can make sure we're on track for going forward today. Okay, so what we're looking for now as well is going to be whether or not the market is in a trending market. And as I said already, we are in a trending market, bullish bias, so we can make that clear. And then we'll look at whether or not we've got, and then we'll conduct our session liquidity. So I'm going to do that in a moment. Conduct our session liquidity in a short second. Let me just do a few things really quickly. Okay, so let's carry on with our session liquidity map. So we want to identify whether or not we have any important fair value gaps, and where we're currently sitting is a massive gap. We've got an order block and we've got not an order block, we've got an opening gap and we've got a fair value gap. So all of this level is going to be important. However, if this level gets cleared out in session, then we are most likely just going to continue targeting lower levels. So lower levels here and here, as well as the pool of liquidity we've got around here as well. So there's quite a lot of area to target on the downside, and so we might see continued decline taking place over this week. However, I'm happy with where I've positioned. I'm happy with where I've shorted the market, and I'm happy with that trade. So I'm not likely going to be looking for further short trades today. I'm only going to be looking for a potential reversal bounce, and that trade is probably going to be around here, to position around here if that takes place. But I'm not going to force any trades because we're already down nearly 0.5%, and that's just today alone. And so moving forward, we've got important fair value gap. You want to look for important levels of internal and external liquidity, and as you can see, you can argue that this is somewhat of a order block, but we won't draw that on the chart. You could argue that these are also levels of fair value, and that's why market stalled there on the 15-minute chart. Okay, so if we're going to take a look deeper, we've got previous day's lows, which is right at our level of external liquidity. And funnily enough, we've got London session lows down here. So we've got London session lows down here. We've got previous day's lows. And the reason why we look for London session lows is because it's the idea that if the market truly is in a bullish trend, then we should come down and sweep London session lows before heading higher. And so this is why this level is important, because if the market really is bullish, then we should come down here, sweep this level before heading higher, and it should be somewhat of an aggressive move. And so if this does take place and we get a buy signal around here, I will be looking to position long. However, a lot has to happen for price to do that, and it needs to be quite a massive signal. So it needs to be maybe a shooting star. Is it a shooting star or pin bar? A long wick candle to indicate to me that the price wants to go higher from this lower level. And if that doesn't take place, I'm not going to be positioned into any more trades for the day. And so that's what we're looking at going into the pre-market, going into the market open. We're looking to see whether or not price can come down, sweep our liquidity down here, and then head higher. And that would be a lovely trade. One thing I do want to do as well actually is just mark out where our gap close level is, and so that's right here. So we've got our previous day's low, we've also got our opening gap up here, And so if the market is to rally, we want to see both of these levels get respected. And so if we rally up and we get some sort of hesitation, then we are most likely going to head lower. Alright, so last but not least, we want to identify whether or not the 4 hour and hourly chart is in confluence. And we can already see that the hourly chart is in somewhat of a deep downtrend, as well as the 4 hour chart also being in somewhat of a deep downtrend. So that does not necessarily support any bullish trades at this current moment in time. However, when this candle closes, if we get this candle to shoot down into the open and then we sweep our liquidity level down here and begin a rally, that will be indicative of somewhat of a rally, and we could see price come all the way back up to here, and target our external highs. And so that's the main trade that I'm looking for. I want to see this. I want to see price come down like this and sweep to the downside before heading higher and leaving a massive green body. And that's going to look like something like this to begin our bullish uptrend. And I'll just show you guys that really quickly. We're going to get rid of the extend right, and we want the candle to look something like this. Yeah, so we want it to come down, sweep, and then start rallying higher, and then hopefully that leads to some more bullish candles that cause a shift in momentum on the 4 hour, which would have led to a shift of momentum on the hourly, and then we'd continued our bullish uptrend on the daily chart, and then target our external liquidities at the high. So that would be the most optimal trade for the day. However, it's going to be tough to see what happens with that. There is no guarantee. Alright, nevertheless, we're just going to wait for market to open. We're going to wait and see what happens. And so keep an eye on that. Alright, guys, so we've got about 12 minutes until the market opens, until the bell rings, and I've put on here just so it's a bit easier for you guys to. So we've got about 12 minutes until the market opens, 2:30 the market opens. So I'm gonna be expecting the way these candles are set up. This is what I'm expecting to take place on the 4-hour chart. So I want to see somewhat of a further decline down to the low of this gap, and then potentially a massive bounce. If we get indication of a bounce from this level, then I'll be looking to buy it. However, the fact that we haven't seen a further decline as we approach the open is not necessarily a great look, because that means if we do approach the open and we do decline, the decline is likely to be aggressive and to close this level out. And what I mean by close this level out, I mean engulf the candle to the downside. So for me to turn bullish today, I want to see the market do this. I want to see it shoot down and then go up, and then start printing higher highs and attempt to target highs and go towards our external liquidity. That's what I want to see. But obviously, the way we're setting up at the moment, it does seem like we are probably going to get a further decline, but that decline is going to see an engulfing candle to the downside, and then we probably going to continue to target these levels of liquidity. If that does happen, I am going to be out of the trade. I'm not going to be trading. I've already, as I've said earlier, I have already taken my positions for the short trade. I took that on Saturday, and this is the profit that I closed earlier today. One of the first things I done when I woke up this morning was close out the position, and this was a lovely trade. So this was if I'm not mistaken, this was nearly a 6-hour trade, which was a really lovely trade. It took me, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the trade lasted about 4 days. I think it was about 4 days. I want to see if this is going to be able to show me my entry. Let's have a look. Does it show me? Yeah, it does. So this was the position that we took. We shorted the market all the way up here. We shorted the market up here, and we closed the position out down here. So it was a lovely 600-point move, and I pretty much felt nothing taking this trade. It was really nice. Maybe on Friday I did experience a little bit of I want to say FOMO, but I was happy to hold the position. And then when I exited today, one of the first things I done when I woke up before I went for my morning walk, I closed out the position because I didn't want to get too attached to the trade. And as traders, we don't want to get attached to the trade and to the position. It's probably better for us to look at the trades as R multiples. And when I saw this was approaching a 6-hour trade, I decided to close it out. I'd rather just close out my positions and go on to the next one, rather than trying to catch a market crash. And I might be right, like the market might be preparing to crash, but really and truly, that's not a likely scenario. We don't know whether or not that's going to happen today or not. And for that reason, I just found it better to close out the position. And so that was a lovely start to my day. But because we've still got a bullish bias, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Because we've still got a bullish bias today, the market is still in a bullish uptrend, and we've got external targets. If you take a look, we've got an external target up here. If this current level of external liquidity, which is this level right here, if this level is unable to be held today, then we are likely that's the wrong level. It's actually this level right here. If this level of external liquidity is unable to be held today, or if this level manages to be held today, then we will likely see price target liquidity up here, which is our external liquidity. However, if price fails to hold this level, and if we do have a decline into the open within the next 10 minutes, then we could just see some more of what we call a waterfall decline, and that just looks like price just continuing its downward move in an attempt to target liquidity here, liquidity here. And what I mean by liquidity is just the stop losses of buyers. Everyone who positioned here and here would have put their stop losses here. And so if I wanted to target these people's stop losses, this would be liquidity for us, and this would be fuel. And I assume when price gets down here, if we sweep this level, then we get even more decline, because the people who bought here will now be selling, and that's when we see the acceleration down, and we could see a decline quite aggressively as we start targeting all of these levels. And so I'm watching this quite closely. If that does take place and causes a shift in market structure, um, I may find an opportunity to sell, but we'll cross that bridge when it comes anyway. There's no need to get into that at this current moment in time. But yeah, as I said already, this is what I want to happen in this session. I want to see the market come down here, sweep our London session low, which is down here, and then put in a wick and see the market begin to rally, and that should take place on a 4-hour chart. And if that happens, then we have a perfect opportunity to start trying to buy the market up, because we're currently sitting inside a gap. We're also resting right beside our level of previous external liquidity, and so if this level does hold, and if the market is unable to close inside the external liquidity, inside the range, then we'll have a pin bar, and we'll have massive opportunity for the market to rally higher. And so we have that opportunity as well. And so the hourly and the 4-hour chart is currently not in confluence with the overall trend, but we have an opportunity to shift that. And if I'm not mistaken, on the hourly as well, if we can get above here, which I mentioned already, if we get above here on the hourly chart, then we turn bullish. If we come down to here, close down here, and then begin a rally from this area, we can shift market structure as well. And so we're watching out to see whether or not we have any indications of a shift in market structure. Nevertheless, as I said, I'm not going to try and force any trades today. If we get an opportunity to buy, then we find a buy trade. If we don't, then we sit on our hands and just wait. As I've already taken a short position, I'm happy with my profit on that trade. 6R trade is not too bad. Alright, so we're just going to wait the next 5 minutes just to see what happens at the open. I'll catch you guys back in the next couple of minutes. All right, we're in the last minute before the market opens. As I said already, we're looking to see price come down and target this level. However, there is a potential that the decline from here is met with further selling. Um, and so I I actually no, I'm not gonna take the trade, but a trade idea would have been to short it on the close of this candle in an attempt to target this level down here. That wouldn't have been a bad trade, um, especially if that candle closes, if this current candle closes red. So I'm actually going to take that position. And it's going to be a half position. Alright, so I got short there. It's going to be a small trade though, only to our target. It's only a 2-to-1 trade. Yeah, it's only a 2-to-1 trade, this trade. Um, and that's only to target our level of liquidity down here. But once it hits this level, I'm going to be out of the trade. Um, for the simple fact that I prefer to not put much money at risk today. I'd rather be. Wow, seems like he wants to give it all back, but I don't believe that. I think we're gonna drop. I was so close to my target as well. Oh, that's silly. We'll keep watching it though. That's the issue. You can't sell in these gaps. If there's a gap, this why this trade is kind of poor because I shouldn't be trying to sell inside the gap. For that reason, I might have to just close this out. Yeah, it seems like we're about to have a massive, massive rally here, which I don't really understand because we didn't manage to sweep our London session liquidity, and I don't know what liquidity we did sweep, considering where we are. I think we're still headed lower. I think it's just noise. Oh well, that's not great. Wow, I was so close to my target. I can't believe we didn't get there, which is strange. I still think we're headed lower, but I don't know how we're gonna go lower. Are we going to fall? We need to fall now if we're going to. But any indication of a green candle close eliminates this trade idea completely. And yeah, it looks like we're gonna be bullish. I can't exactly tell what's about to happen. I just feel like we should have gone and swept the low. I don't know why we didn't. Um, we've got our risk on the table, so we're happy with our risk. I think this just might be an indication of a further decline, maybe. Maybe we're trying to induce some more sellers, induce some more buyers, I should say. But that candle's not great at all. That candle is absolutely insane. I think I'm gonna try and get out at break even. Unless we get a massive drop, I'm gonna try and remove my risk off this trade. I don't like the size of that wick. That wick looks horrendous. Yeah, I have to get stopped out. I really need this to drop now because alright, so if we can get a decline into our entry, then I will try and remove some risk and potentially even exit the position. But it needs to be an aggressive move down. That's the only way I stay in the trade. Alright, we are heading lower. I think that was the inducement to get the buyers in the market, and hopefully we get a decline from here. Yeah, I need to close this out. We are inside a gap, so it doesn't really make sense to be long. To be short, I should say. That trade really did shock me because we didn't manage to sweep our London session liquidity. So I don't really understand the dynamics of this trade really. But it does seem like we're about to just take off. So I guess you win some, you lose some. We haven't yet been stopped out. We need a miracle at this point. We really need a miracle. Are we gonna get a miracle? Will we get a miracle? In the last 5 minutes, we're looking for a miracle here. Let's have a look at what the hourly candle looks like on the close. Okay, so if we do get further decline, the hourly will shift red, and then we might just see some more bearish action. But we first need to see the 15 turn red, which is what I'm currently keeping an eye on. No, it doesn't seem likely. But last 5 minutes is always the turning point of a candle. So let's watch what happens over the next 5 minutes. It's pretty incredible how we got so close to my take profit. And what's funny is I don't even use take profits, but I wanted to use one today. That's a real shame. We're in the last 5 minute phase, so this could be important. Let's see if we get the type of selling that we want. And so we are getting some selling, but it seems to just be getting eaten up by buyers. I'm not exactly sure if I want to get in long. And I have been stopped out, so wow, that one shocked me. I think I do want to get in long, just because it sort of is the candle that I'm looking for. Not exactly, but it is sort of like the candle that I'm looking for. And so this could just be the start of a massive rally. So at the close of the candle on the hour, I'm gonna potentially look for a long trade. I don't know why this trade didn't work out. We ended up coming down to here, and this presented as an order block, but that doesn't seem right. Alright, so I still got half a position left. On the short side, I guess we didn't get stopped out completely, but we'll see as we approach it. We'll see whether or not I'm gonna stay in this position or not. I should have got out on this candle close right here, because that was the defining factor. Let's switch sides, guys. Let's go long. Yeah, let's go long. Alright, I've positioned long now. 100 point stop loss. It'll be unfortunate if this trade loses. But considering we're inside our gap, I like to believe that we're about to have a massive rally.